Hi there. This is Tenet 2 of the men's study. Um, just if you just watched the first one, that's great. This is originally part of a larger study that I'm going to do with some of the closest uh, the men in my life. They each got one of these. It's a great study Bible, but that's not important. What is important is Tenet 2, which I assume is why you came here. Tenet 2 is vulnerability and why it's important as men. So strap in, this one's going to get intense. Okay. Have any of you guys ever seen Shrek? Ever seen the movie Shrek? You know, Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy's the donkey. Well, you'll know a line from the beginning, from the first movie. Why, why do ogres have? Why are ogres like onions? What is it that Mike Myers says to Donkey about why they're like onions of all things? Well, he says that onions have layers. I mean, you peel back different things because we have so many. Ogres have so much defense mechanisms and everything else. So, how are we as men any different than ogres? We put up defense mechanisms all the time. We're we have so much that we hold in deep within ourselves because society tells us that men are weak if they come out with their emotions. They're weak. They're less than men. They're feminine. You know they're not allowed to come out with their emotions. With that being said, which gender do you assume commits suicide more between men and women, according to the statistics? Which one? I mean, you could pause it and go and look it up if you want, but you'll see that women lead in attempts, but men lead in successes. Men attribute to about 80% of all suicide deaths in America. 80%. 8 out of 10. Let that hit you for a minute. The male death suicide rate was 3.5 times. That's almost quadruple the amount of women. 3.5 times. And yet, we choose to live in a world where it's somehow cool to hide our emotions, but we are literally killing ourselves? In what world does that make sense? I have a friend that says men are like potato plants. What happens with potato plants is you take the potato, and in our case as men, this is all of our frustrations. This is all the stuff that makes us cry. This is all the stuff that makes us vulnerable. We take it and we bury it deep in the soil, and we forget about it. But the thing is, with the potato plant, you have that in there, and sprouts start coming up all over the place in your lot. And in our lives, we start yelling at people that we don't mean to yell at. We start yelling at our wives. We start yelling at our kids. We start yelling at random people over Facebook, and we say, well, we're just passionate about politics. No, it's because we didn't address that original potato. We didn't, and until we dig that potato out, it's going to start coming out everywhere in our lives. And if that's not unkempt, it could become physical. And it's not just physical towards others, it could be physical to yourself. So society says that, vulnerability is, it's weakness as men. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to swallow our pride and go and climb the mountain. It's just not true. We think of strength as, things being pushed, weights being lifted that takes a lot of energy to accomplish. So I ask you, what's more difficult as a man? What takes more strength to do as a man? Is it to open up, or is it to lock ourselves away? Well, to me, it's a lot harder to open up. It's a lot harder to let other people in on what that is that you're doing. So if it takes more strength to open up, why do we call it weakness? We'll take a look at what the Bible has to say. I know this is where many of you will turn it off, but deal with it. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. I'm starting for 8 because I like context, unlike CNN. Just kidding. Fox is just as bad too, we know, blah, 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 blah. 3 different times I begged the Lord to take away the pain that he's feeling. Each time he said, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." So now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, I am strong. When you want to make something tougher, or when you want to make something stronger, bigger, what do you have to do to it? You have to go in, you have to see what's wrong, and then you have to figure out areas that you can strengthen. Men not opening up means that you have this titanium supercharger over here, and you have a 68 Mustang Fastback. Oh, I'll swap this out. Throw the charger away. You have a double-barreled carb, and you have all sorts of upgrades right here that can make that 68 Mustang super fast. You can make it to 500 to 600 horsepower, but you can't get the trunk open. This is everything good that can happen to our lives, and the peace that we can feel as men. But you won't open the hood. Think about that one. That is the end of Tenet 3. Yeah, that is the end of Tenet 2.